Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wound. Pick up some.
Hey, this is me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled that you're listening to our show right now, and we're going to have a good time tonight with our friend
John Esterly, Rare Buzz Effects.
That's right. He's in a studio with us here at Relay Recording, our temporary home from, well, it's not home away from home. It's just the home because we don't have another home. So John Fennell's been kind enough to help us out with that.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a really neat show today. Tony, what are we going to do on this show?
We're going to talk to builders of gear.
Nope.
No.
Not tonight.
Nope. Tonight, we are going to do our On The Floor Bonanza. Woohoo!
That is right. So you will recall maybe from an episode or two ago, and if you haven't listened before, then this is new. This is going to be really fun for you. We've got a segment on our show called Four on the Floor.
What happens in that segment?
Well, what we do is we ask every guest that we have on the show to submit their 4 must-have pedals.
Oh.
It can be any pedal they want. We try to, stay away from, utility pedals if possible, but sometimes those are the pedals that people love, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We have been doing this now for a little over 2 years.
Wow.
And we've accumulated a lot. We're going to go through some stats in a little bit here, but we had there's a lot of information. And we're like, well, we need to do something with this.
I think we've been doing this for almost 3 years.
Yeah, if the math is right.
2 years,
true. 3 years.
Whatever.
That's why I'm not going to read off the numbers.
Months and days.
Anyway, so we'll get to that in a second, but this is going to be really exciting. What we're going to do is we're going to go through categories and numbers of all the pedals that have been submitted. Don't worry, we're not going to go through every single pedal, but we've got groups and categories, such as like the top 7 delays. Ooh, is your appetite whetted yet?
Wetted yet?
Yes. But for right now, we're going to get to a couple of announcements. We want to say a big fat thank you to Rode Mics in beautiful and now hopefully on the mend Australia.
Yeah.
For the Rodecaster Pro, the beautiful device that is capturing our podcast and digitizing it.
And it's a little box.
It is. It's not even a box. It's like a wedge.
It's a control center.
It is a wedge.
Yeah. We also want to say thank you to them for providing the Procaster mic and its beautiful powder-coated articulating arms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So thank you so much to those guys for helping our show out. It means the world to us. And we want to thank music producer and recording engineer John Fennell for the support of our show. He's been a guest on our show and is a guitarist himself, so he knows how to get the tones you need. John produced my upcoming album right here at Relay Recording, and I am absolutely blown away by the results. He helped us through the whole process, from pre-production to recording and engineering to mixing and finally to mastering. And unlike others I have worked with, John was really attentive and provided lots of thoughtful input from over 20 years' experience. He will also provide his services off-site or remote. John will help you find the best way to tackle your recording project and bring your music to life. Check him out at johnfintel.com. That's JONFINTEL.com and relayrecording.com. I want to share, we've been getting a lot of these, and I'm sharing them because they're feel-goody kind of things, all right? And they're not just like, hey, you guys are, I like your show, it's really great. Which is, hey, we love to hear that too. But we're not just doing obligatory kudos here.
No.
It says, this is from Andy Fern from Instagram. He sent me a note. Says, hi guys, thought it about time I was a little more involved and wrote you to say thanks. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, discovering it from a mention by Rhett Shull, our former guest. Check out the show that we did with him on our website. So I've been inspired by your shows, most recently the excellent Low Sounds episode.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Aisha Low.
I was there for that.
Yeah. I am a struggling pro player, both teaching and playing for cover bands. I've never really experimented with wiring and modifying, considering it to be beyond my totally unscientific brain. But for a birthday gift, my wife bought me an old Aria Strat and a Squier Telly. Both needing repairs. Those are great guitars to get started on, modifying.
Yeah.
So they both needed repairs. Aisha Lowe convinced me that even though I don't have any specific space at all, I could really give both guitars some attention in my kitchen. So we talked about Honey Tea, basically making all his guitars in the kitchen too. I bought an inexpensive soldering iron. I said it, and have fully rebuilt both, adding a set of budget Artec pickups to the Telly. He's putting them in. They're beginner guitars. They're just like, hey, let me figure out how to do this before I spend a lot of money on good stuff, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
And this is the cool part. I mean, that's all cool too, but this is extra cool. Jared, you're really going to appreciate this. I used both on Saturday, jamming with my dad at his 60s band reunion.
Ooh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
I can't thank you guys enough, and Aisha Lowe. All the best to you, Andy. That was really
Awesome.
nice.
Yeah, that's nice,
That was.
Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's in a DM, so like that's thumb typing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you've got
That's
a
a big
kitchen
story.
table or even a kitchen counter, I mean, I've done surgery on guitars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you don't need a lot of space,
no,
all you need
You
is
just need to do it.
Just need a soldering iron.
yeah, yep.
A what now?
A soldering iron.
That's right. We get one of those. So I just really appreciate that sentiment and sharing that story with us. Continued success to your modifying endeavors, Andy Fern. So there we have it.
And if if you're feeling adventurous, there's all kinds of things you can change out. Caps.
guards.
You can change out. If you want to put a different set of pickups in. Now that you've done it once,
Yeah,
piece of cake.
get a fancy pick guard.
fancy, real
Yeah.
fancy.
Get
I
some,
know a guy.
Get some new jack. Get a new jack. Get a Switchcraft jack. Get a, all that stuff.
That's a really good point because that is usually on budget guitars. That is usually the weakest link is the input output jack, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And
A lot of them are plastic,
some of them are just like real
Rubber.
real bad metal.
paper.
Rock, paper, scissors. But for it's a $3 or $4 or $5 part. Buy a Switchcraft jack, throw that in,
Yeah.
and
get a Switchcraft switch.
You won't have any problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
At least
good.
at that end of it.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So, gentlemen, that was what that was all about. All the announcements and stuff.
That was nice.
It was. I appreciate that. If you have stories like that, please share them with us. We will try to read them like we just did. And if you just want to say hi and say, hey, thanks, we like that too. Okay. We are going to get through what's going on in this world our week, gentlemen. Tony Baloney.
I always have to go first.
By the way,
Did
I
you
said
notice that?
Tony Baloney in my Siri today. I said, Siri, call Tony Baloney. And I don't have that as a preset, and it did call Tony. All right.
It must be. It must know. Siri
Yeah,
knows
it's
all.
listening, yes.
Siri
All right, tell us
knows
what's
all.
going on in your music world.
Okay, so this week, this is a good one for this week. So I was in the. This is really the first time in a long time that I've been without a 12-string acoustic guitar. For the last year or two, I think I sold one at least around that time. So I just had a hankering for an inexpensive 12-string, and of course I'm a big Guild fan, and I don't know how they do this, but I mean, so I ended up finding a used Guild J2512, which is their import line, but the street price on these guitars are like $499 or $599, and I mean it's a decent guitar. It's a jumbo body, So
I like the jumbo body.
yeah, and this one, it's got a maple back and sides, solid spruce top. I just don't know how they can make an instrument with, I mean, you almost have that in the tuning machines.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I found a used one that has some issues.
I don't use 12 strings often. 12 strings are really susceptible to problems, right? I mean,
Well, the biggest problem.
I'm always shocked by how cheap they are. And I was like, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're looking at like some 1980s Fender 12-string
Takamine.
or a Takamine, they're subject to bellying, which means the top behind the bridge starts lifting.
Yeah.
And they're also subject to the neck collapsing. So it kind of basically, if you go to a store and you find one that has really super high action at the 12th fret, it's got one of those two issues. And even classic guilds, you know, a 12-string guild will always need a neck reset at some point in its life, which is why I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So, long story short, I found one online for under $200, and the biggest issue with it is the bridge is starting to lift, so it's becoming unglued. You can slide a piece of paper underneath the bridge.
Dang it.
But it's not that big a deal. It's not like it's pulling off or what have you. And then there was an issue with the output jack. There's a little stop nut on the inside that has to be tightened up. That's an easy fix. So so I got it this week, and I tell you what, I restrung it, which is another interesting phenomenon. If you haven't had to string up a 12-string guitar, it's fun.
It takes a little bit.
It takes some patience. And I shaved the saddle down a little bit to get it to play a little bit better, and I'm okay with the bridge lift as it sits now. I took it over to my buddy Sean's place, and he said, "Well, it's not that bad. Eventually, it will need to be re-glued, but you almost hate to put what it would cost to reglue a bridge into into a $200 guitar."
True.
So I'm just going to work with it as it sits, and when it disintegrates or self-destructs, I'll just find another one. But in the meantime, it's a good sounding guitar. I'm a super big fan of the big
like
jumbo
a natural
bodies.
style, or is it is it dark?
No, it's a natural finish.
Guilds do a lot
satin.
of darks.
They do a sunburst version, but by and large, most guilds are just a natural finish. But it's the big jumbo body, which is really cool. And this thing just booms when you play it.
That's
it's,
cool.
It's a nice.
John
nice,
Denver's going to sound good on that.
Yeah, let's play John Denver
Yeah,
medleys.
you fill up my senses.
Yeah, like a walk in the forest.
I want that sung like Leonard Cohen, though.
There you go. There you go.
Fill up my senses.
All right. Anyways,
So that was my the big excitement this week.
Amazing.
$200 Guild 12-string.
that's fantastic. You get that in the old music go round.
No, I got it on the Bay of E.
Okay. All right.
Evil Bay.
Yeah.
No, excuse me. I got that on reverb. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a good deal, man. I would have been scared about that, to be honest.
Well, that's why I figured, in the worst case scenario, I could have 12 tuning machines if it was a real monster.
That's true.
There you go.
J-Rod.
Very exciting. So Zach comes over when he comes over to work or whatever. We sit down and
Who is Zach?
Zachary Oswald. He's been on here plenty of times.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
So he works for me. So he came over and we kind of chill out in the living room, and I finish up my coffee and we just kind of discuss what's happening. And sometimes we look online at gear and guitars before we get going. So Zach found an early 50s Epiphone Zephyr Regent, yes. So it's a hollow body electric. It's a jazz guitar, and it's like what 3 or 4. It's about 4.5, 5 inches thick. It's
a beast.
Yeah, and if it was in decent condition, those things go for around $3,000 to $5,000.
Yep.
This one, the guy was asking $300.
Wow.
$300. It was a one-owner guitar, and when I got it, it was a second owner because the guy got it off the first owner. So yeah, I know.
Anybody following along?
I know.
So it's no longer
Train leaves the station.
Yeah.
3 o'clock.
The first owner had it 99.9% of its life.
That's pretty cool.
And the neck, of course, was coming off. And so the old feller re-glued the neck and used a drywall screw.
What?
Why not?
Yeah. So he was desperate, wanted to fix it. He probably didn't have the money to pay to. Actually, there's a lot of repair shops that don't even want to mess with those old guitars.
Really?
The binding is just
the
falling.
binding rot.
The binding. The rot was the rot. The rot was binding. The binding was rotten. So the binding was falling off.
Yeah, basically, just to clarify, so I see it on a lot of Gretches, and in this case, on an old Epiphone, that the binding that goes around the outside of the body,
it shrinks.
It's celluloid, and it is literally just disintegrating.
Yeah,
It's vaporizing.
Well, it's like what I run into when I'm doing bound archtop guards. The tortoise just starts to melt and crack and gas
Vaporize.
off. It's a mess.
So there's a lot of parts on this guitar that were good, and that left a ton of meat on the bone. So I knew I wanted this guitar. It was up for about 7 minutes, and then Zachary found it and said something, and I said, "That's only an hour away. I'm gonna text the guy. I got it." So I drove.
Why didn't you bring it in?
Probably wouldn't make the trip.
Let me finish the story.
Oh, okay.
So I brought the guitar back. I got the guitar. Nice guy. He goes to the guitar show once in a while in Columbus, and we're looking at it. The pickup still works. It's one of those old original. So the original pickup was on it. It looks like a mini humbucker, but it's not. It's actually a single coil.
They call them New York pickups?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Right. There's something else, and the only person who's actually redone these is Curtis Novak. So he's the only guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I saw one of his postings.
Yeah, he's the only guy that makes these things. I don't even see him on his website yet.
Maybe not.
But anyhow, there's the tuners are original. They work. The pickup works. The whole harness, the pots and everything, untouched. I pulled that out of the guitar.
Yeah.
The pick guard is still in one piece.
That's odd.
The knobs still are good.
Yeah,
Took them off
those
the
are
pots.
the old white Bakelite.
The white
How
Bakelights.
old is this guitar?
50s.
50s probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
We tried to read one of the pot codes and they were really weird. It's a really early Sintralab. So anyway, I was thinking about having somebody look at the guitar to have it redone, and I changed I think Zach really wanted to see if he could practice his binding skills on it and his
God bless him.
I know and neck resetting and all that kind of thing. So I'm like, work for me for a few days, and I'll give you the guitar. So
Wow.
it really worked out for both of us, and
Well, you're keeping the other parts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meat there. So
you've basically got your money back out of the electronics and the tuning heads and
yeah, I
Yeah,
I
there's
think-
or
easily,
darn close to.
I have
There's
a
easily
little-
$300 worth of stuff there. Yeah.
I think I could probably get at least $700 to $1,000 out of it all.
Oh wow,
Wow.
Yeah.
good for you.
$7 to $1,000.
If I'm right. If I'm patient around the higher, but if I get over 300, I'm good. So that's
Key
my
thing
thing.
is if you're patient.
You know what Axel
If I'm
said
patient.
about
Jared, the modicum of patience.
Yeah.
that. Just takes a little patience.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. John.
Well, my last week, other than building pedals, I went to Harbor Freight and got a new workbench, which is something that I've been wanting to get for the studio for quite some time. I've had a particular one in mind for about 6 months now. And for anybody outside the Midwest who doesn't know Harbor Freight, if you wait long enough,
It goes on sale.
the price will come down.
Like crazy cheap, insanely cheap power tools and everything.
So normal retail price on this workbench is $99.95, which is pretty darn good as it is. But
Yeah.
I thought, you can get 20% off just by, smiling at them and batting your eyes. And I waited, and toward the end of
That's never worked for me.
I'm sorry to hear that. But toward the end of last week, the price came down to $69.95. So I went and snapped that up, and it.
Did you cut the coupon? They have coupons everywhere.
I did. I had to print it out and then cut it out. So I took that in, and
The butcher block style?
No, it's the one that's like a metal frame with a wood top and wood shelves, 2 drawers, and a light up
Real
above.
nice.
So
Oh,
yeah,
good.
real nice. And it comes in a box that's like 4 feet by 2 feet by 6 inches. So there is literally not one part of that thing that was already assembled when
Yeah.
I started. So I was at the studio kind of working and kind of cleaning up and making room for it, and thought to myself, well, I'll set aside maybe 45 minutes to an hour to put this thing together. And it had to be 4 hours to get it in one piece.
Yeah, you've obviously never put
Yeah.
put together any IKEA furniture.
And I mean, kudos to whoever designed this and put the instructions together, because it really did go together pretty easily.
Yeah.
It was just, very fiddly. There were, 10,000 screws you had to put together to make it happen.
So is it pretty sturdy? Or?
It is. The main shelf, which is where I'm using that shelf for my drill press, holds, I think, 220 pounds. So it's and then the shelf up top is like 100, and then the bottom shelf is like 180. So it's
Wow.
it's a pretty stout,
beefy.
pretty stout workbench. So now that I've got that together, I've got my drill press set up. So hopefully that'll kind of speed up some of the process of preparing enclosures going forward.
So you use the drill press a lot for your? Is that like reaming out the holes on the
Yeah,
the controls and that?
And to be perfectly honest, the drill press has been sitting in a box since I bought it. I've been using a hand drill to do all of the drilling, which is horrible.
Not to mention dangerous.
Oh yeah, yeah. So now that I've got the press and the workbench set up, I've been using that for the past week, and it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
It speeds up the process significantly. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've been holding a piece of metal trying to open using a
It'll spin.
yeah, oh yeah, and it actually cuts right through flesh.
I did that the other day.
Yeah, Jared's got a.
It looks like
visual
it looks
there.
like I pulled a hangnail off, but actually, I was trying to cut through some fiber bobbin. I was making some 1/4 pounder pickups. That's where you have 1/4-inch magnets. So I
Yep.
was reaming out
making
a
the holes
thing.
bigger,
yeah, and it
Yeah,
caught
let's
my
be clear, you're
thumb
making some
and-
1/4 pounder style.
That's
pickups.
right. Style. Yep. And
cease and
took a-
desist.
took a nice big giant. Like I'm not going to have a hangnail there forever because
No.
I took all the flesh off. So.
Yeah. Nice.
good.
It's
Thanks for
awesome.
sharing.
Down
you're
to
just-
the bone.
You're thinking ahead there.
Yes.
I hate hangnails.
Yeah, they can all go to hell.
On this week's Hangnail podcast.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, this week
Yeah, what about you?
How about you, Todd?
I did a little post on Facebook. I think it might have been Sunday night about Rick Beato's YouTube channel. He posted some about do string gauge really make a difference? What are the effects of this string gauge? And it was with Rhett Shull. And so I watched that, and I was like, it was super engaging, really fascinating, and he's got some great videos. So check his channel out for sure, as well as Rhett's. They've got great YouTube channels. Anyway, so it wasn't just theory. They tested them out. They did sound checks on them, and it was really interesting to hear Rhett like right off the bat, basically saying, "Oh, wow, I can really." Not only can I feel a difference, but I can hear a difference. And I think when we're talking about like micro measurements, most of us probably like, it isn't really making that big of a difference. But we do make a choice to choose one kind of string or another based on that. So to poo-poo that, it flies in the face of, otherwise everybody would be using one kind of string and one kind of string gauge. So their arguments about what they were hearing and why they were hearing it and how they feel and everything was really interesting. So I said, you know what? I have been kind of suffering as of late on my fingers. Like I've got permanent dents in my fingers. I grip it relatively tight. I'm not like a full on like gorilla, but I don't.
Says you.
I don't have lightweight fingerboard style, right? So I thought, okay, that would actually be really nice if I didn't have that, and because aside from it just being like, hey, there's a permanent, rut in my finger. When you're playing, it's not unlike driving. If you're driving and you fall into a rut, your car's going there whether you like it or not. So if I've got to switch up chords and I've got ruts all over my fingers, that's kind of a pain in the butt, and it makes for some sloppy playing because it's certainly not the player.
Oh, never.
It's the sound guy.
Yeah. So
I was going to ask you about that
Hang on,
because okay,
hang on,
go ahead.
hang
Go
on.
ahead. Go ahead.
The other big thing that was pointed out, and as guitarists, we should all be mindful of this. If you're gigging, if you're not gigging, arguably it doesn't matter. They immediately commented on the punch of the mids in the 9s and 8s, but specifically at the 9s. And I was like, okay, sold. I'm gonna see if because I've been struggling to try to get those out the way that I want them to. So I took off all the strings, and then I was due for a string change anyway for my gig guitars, and threw on some SIT 9s.
Okay.
Ta-da!
Well, I was going to ask you about that
Yeah,
because I mean that goes against.
it feels really different.
Oh, totally. I mean, I have a heavy left hand as do you probably, and I go sharp anytime I go anything less than a 10 on like a Fender scale length neck. Do you find yourself pushing harder or going sharp?
I'm still getting used to it.
Okay.
But something to compound that, and this is what I was thinking about when we were out there with Drew Foppe at the Smashing Pumpkins show backstage with the gear and everything. How he was saying, tuning a cent behind, or I think he was saying a cent behind. I can't remember the exact measurement, but he was basically going flat on every string, so that when you start playing, you're not going to go over. It'll basically go to
pitch.
To pitch, yeah. So I'm toying around with that. Maybe trying to do that. I've only played them about 2 or 3 times, cycling through the 3 different guitars because they're very different feeling guitars.
Oh, totally, yeah.
But the other thing that got me was that it took out some of the bottom boom, and this is the kind of thing that and they discuss this in great depth on the video. I encourage you to go watch it because it's really informative. And Rhett's got a follow-up where he says, so this is what I learned from that. And it was really, again, very informative. So great job on that, you guys. But the one thing I will mention is that 10s, 11s, 10s and up can have more boom or more warbly mud on the bottom end, especially if you're playing hard.
Great name for a band.
Warbly mud. I know, right? And I do. I'm like power chords all day long, right?
Right.
So I thought that's something that I'm also struggling with. I feel I can hear that, and I haven't been able to remedy it with EQing and stuff. So I'm like, hey, 3 birds with one stone.
Right.
Potentially no ruts in my fingers. We'll see. A little bit more punch in the mid, and getting rid of some of the boom on the bottom. It's not radical. It's not like all of a sudden I threw an EQ pedal up and it's changed everything. But every little helps. And if that is starting at the guitar level rather than an electronic level, I'll take it.
Okay.
Let me ask this. Having watched both videos, both Rick's and Rhett's follow-up, one of the comments that stood out to me with Rhett was he said with the lower gauge strings, he actually felt a little bit more confidence because he was able to bend better. He felt like his chord shapes were smoother.
Yeah.
Are you feeling that same?
Well, and interestingly enough, he also said, but when he jumped to the 8s, it was like he didn't have that control.
Right,
They
right.
were too squirrely, or he didn't have his confidence because they're harder to feel.
And I've got the same problem. Like I cannot play on a super slinky style string. It's too much.
Yeah. I haven't totally felt that yet. But like I said, I strung them up and I let them kind of sit, and then I retuned and then I played a little bit, but I haven't gone through like a full session of playing.
Gotcha.
I'll know at my next practice if this was a good idea or not.
It certainly made me think about it too, because I play 10s on everything just because it's a nice round number.
Yeah.
And some of the things you described, like my open low E string just drives me nuts because it feels like there's nothing I can do that it doesn't buzz. So I'd be interested to try the lower gauge to see if that would help too.
The gauge of string on guitars, it kind of does make a big difference playability wise. So if you're out there and you've been getting the same gauge for forever, maybe step out of your comfort zone and try something else, and you might like it a lot more. But
And I think in both videos, what they were both very transparent about is this might not be for everybody. You might like 11s or you might like 10s. That might be the gauge to use, but don't be afraid to step into a 9 or an 8 just to see what
give it a shot.
Like, put it on one of your guitars and see if you like it. And,
You won't break the bank.
Yeah.
And likely, I mean, if you're going to a lighter gauge, you may need to loosen the truss rod a little bit so that you get a little more relief in the neck. That's the one thing. Jumping even down, going from 10s to 9s.
Yeah, I got some string buzz.
Yeah,
For sure I did.
definitely. So just loosen the truss rod, maybe a eighth or a quarter of a turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll take care of it.
Yes. Yeah, that was the only bummer. I was like, yeah, let's play. And I was like,
Or you could raise the action at the
yeah,
bridge.
no, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I'm sure it was a tension thing. Anyways,
Cool.
all right,
We'll
let's
expect
do
a full report.
That only took a second.
4 on the Floor Mania Bonanza. 4 on the Floor Bonanza, not Mania.
Bonanza.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be awesome. Much more awesome than us just rambling on there. So sorry about that, Tony.
Ramble.
All right, so we are going to go through a lot here, but it's not going to feel like a lot.
But before you do that, is there someone we should be thanking?
You better believe it. We want to say big, ginormous thanks to Reo Carnahan. Woo-hoo. Again, he's
the official podcast statistician.
Yeah, that's right. He created the initial spreadsheet that set us up for success here, and I was so thrilled by that. And so thank you, Reo Carnahan.
I got a buddy like that. I've got a lot of admiration for people that, have a knack. Have a knack to do this kind of thing. They enjoy doing it.
Yeah, he did. Popped it out real quick, like
nice.
All right, so if you're curious, and if you haven't seen the blog or anything like that, or what we're posting on the socials, you can check out theguitarknobs.com/blog, and it says blog, but it's 4 on the Floor. Yeah. So at the top on the navigation, it says 4 on the Floor.
Okay.
I just never changed the original thing. So anyways.
So what you're saying is you screwed up.
I did.
Okay.
It's too late now.
Yeah, go there, check it out, and you will be wowed. You will be dazzled and amazed. All of your favorite builders have contributed their 4 must-have pedals, and we have them all with descriptions and links to go get them and everything.
Nice.
So,
Can I tell you a few statistics?
I would love for you to do that.
Can I do that?
You can tell everybody, not just me.
I'm going to tell everyone.
Yes.
Jared, are you paying attention?
I'm all ears.
John?
Bated breath.
Okay. So, to date, we have 104.
This is up to episode 160, by the way.
Oh, episode 160.
All the way up to the latest one. Yes.
So we have 104 4 on the Floor blog posts.
That's right.
That's more than 100.
104
4 on the
of
Floor.
our guests have contributed to this.
In that, we have 361 pedal selections.
That's correct.
361 different pedals.
Yep.
We have 319 pedals.
No, 319 models.
Models.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
so
pedals.
that means there's a lot of doubles.
Now I understand.
Even triples.
As I was reading this, I confused myself.
Yes.
So 319 different models and 150 different brands. Think about it. Just stop. Think about that. 150 different brands.
Unique brands.
That's amazing.
It is truly incredible.
If somebody said, "Hey, Tony,
name 10.
how many brands are out there of pedals?" I'd say,
Well over
80?
150.
80?
No. This
85?
is a drop in the bucket.
No, it's 150.
My God.
Well, that's just what we have.
Oh, that's true.
And
Well, I mean, yeah, there's obviously more than that.
Way more than that.
Why don't we open a big pedal superstore? like a Sam's Warehouse pedal edition.
Yeah,
It's a lot of pedals.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, do that.
Thanks, guys.
I'm trying to think back, way back. Our very first 4 on the Floor
That's right.
happened on Friday, March 13th, 2017.
Correct.
I don't know if it was a Friday, but
It sounds good.
it sounds good that way. And I believe the guest was some guitar player from the Chicago area, I believe.
Yeah.
Jeff
Schroeder?
Schroeder.
Jeff Schroeder.
Yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins.
And just to review, at that time, because Jeff had been back a second time.
That's right.
And I think he made a couple of modifications to his 4 on the floor.
He did.
But his original 4 on the floor was the Line 6 M13 Stomp Box Modeler, the Catlin Bred Belle Epoque Delay, the Eventide H9 Reverb Delay Harmonizer FX Processor, and the Tone Freak Naked Overdrive and Pineapple Boost.
Yeah, it was actually 2 pedals, but
Well,
we let him have it. I mean, what are we going to say? No.
Yeah.
Anyways, after that, we said no.
yes. So anyhow, that's a little bit of history.
Yeah.
But it is amazing, and again, I mean, just whoever to put this all together was just such a nice bonus for us.
Yeah, it was
because we
huge.
didn't have to do it.
It was huge.
But he wanted to.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. I mean, I think you'd be challenged right now if you could name more than 12 brands, like right out the gate.
Off the top
I
of
think
our
you'd get
heads.
stuck around 10, like maybe, a lot of people. Not people who were like way deep into John's like, I could.
I know at least
Yes.
250.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
Do you want them in alphabetical order?
Yeah. So we're going to go through a handful of actual lists here, and we've got your main players. Just to let you know what we're going to go through. Okay, we're going to go through the delays, the fuzz, the overdrives, the reverbs, compressor, the modulation, including phaser, vibrato, flanger, tremolo, pitch shifter, tape control, blah, 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 distortion, boost. And we're going to wrap up with the top 10 brands and the top 4 pedals. 4? Why do you ask that?
Why 4?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Let's do this.
This is going to be a blast. Hang on, everybody. Jared is going to be our MC through this little run through the pedal garden. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with the top 7 delays. There are 23 models. The Caroline Guitar Company, Kilobyte. The Chase Bliss Thermae. There's over 3 on each of these. I wanted to add that. There's 3 choices.
All right.
The Strymon Timeline,
Yeah.
the Electronic Audio Experiments, the Sending, Lines. There you go.
Not yet.
Oh no.
Line 6, DL4, Montreal Assembly, Count to 5, MXR, Carbon Copy. There's like 2 or 3 choices for each of those.
Yeah, so all of these have been mentioned 3 or more times.
That's what I was
3
trying
or
to
more
say.
times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, there were obviously 23 different models. So these ones were the ones that, were...
The creme de la creme.
Yes. So, we're not going to name out every single one because you would hate us if we did that. It would
But
be
you're going
interesting.
to post these,
but you
aren't
can
you?
find.
You're going to post this.
You can go look at it on 4 on the Floor. I don't have the list. I haven't posted the list. I don't know if I'm going to post the list.
I
We'll
want
see.
you to post the list.
Maybe we'll post the list.
I think we should post the
We
list.
might post the list.
A lot of
post it.
people
All right.
chose the Kilobyte, man.
Yeah,
It's a big one.
so right out of the gate, I think in year 2 of this, we were like, wow, Kilobyte's getting mentioned a lot. And it still is. It was just mentioned the other day, actually.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know, guys. I mean, these are is this what we expected to see on here? I know one that I'm surprised. I'm surprised a couple aren't on here, but
I'm not surprised Strymon's on there. That's Strymon's.
the timeline was an early player.
Yeah.
It hasn't been
Yeah.
mentioned as much later. I mean, because it's been around for a little while. But John, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I would say the DL4 and the Carbon Copy are kind of the granddaddies of delay. So I see no surprise there. the DL4 does everything but make you breakfast in the morning, and then the carbon copy.
And you can get them powder coated from AWOL.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty
Aaron,
cool.
Aaron does just about anything in the world to those. So, and then carbon copy. I mean, if you want a small form factor, inexpensive delay, I mean you're not going to do much better than that.
The Count to 5 is a really expensive pedal.
And
for that to be mentioned 3 times in a standard size box compared to a Strymon, I was surprised.
Because the price point for both is kind of right there. And
Yeah.
if I were to go out unlimited budget and buy something today, it'd probably be a Count to 5. But the budget is kind of a prohibiting factor there.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap pedal for what it is. But yeah, I don't see even among the more boutique builders, I don't see any surprises there. The Kilobyte, like you mentioned, is a very well regarded delay pedal, and in fact, Caroline just around NAMM season announced a megabyte.
What do you think, you're Jared?
But they've got a megabyte delay that, as far as I know, is the kind of the progression of that thought process.
Cool.
And then I did talk with Now We Can Drink, Tony, John Snyder, earlier today, and he wanted me to let everybody know if you do own Ascending, he does have a firmware update, so reach out to him via
cool.
email or socials.
Oh, that's very
taken
good.
Care of.
Very good.
And he's working on version 2, but timeline on that one is being obstructed by his completion of his school. So.
I think someone, I can't remember who mentioned, because a lot of people mentioned a lot of things on the show, but they said that the Ascending was the best delay that they've ever heard, period, bar none, end of story. That is obviously debatable based on our list. But at least 3, and here's the other thing to keep in mind, everybody. These aren't rando people saying I like this pedal or this pedal. Like, these are the people who are building the things.
Right.
Pedal builders,
Right. Yeah.
guitar builders, amp builders, and musicians that are using and building and looking at these things saying, I admire these, or I use them, or I'm friends. And so there's some weight there that goes into this list.
Oh,
I think
definitely.
that's,
And let us remind you that the pedal builders were not allowed to choose their own pedals when they mentioned them.
that's true. That's true. Except
Good point.
Dr. Z. We let him do that.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to.
Yeah. I don't know that we let him. He just did.
He
it.
just did.
Yeah. He's a doctor. What are you going to do?
So I think that is a big differentiator as opposed to when you see, sort of the end of the year when the publications, the mainstream publications
Right.
post what the top anything is. That's usually top sales, which doesn't necessarily, maybe it's
this
not.
is more. Consider this the SAG Awards instead of
That's
the Oscars.
right. Or
These
the
are
Grammys
pedal
even
builders
Yeah.
choosing other pedal builders.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yes. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And 23 different models. That's a lot to choose from right there.
So we have a separate category for reverbs too.
We do.
Okay, so that I was going to say, because some people would consider a reverb a delay.
Yep. And there's
Albeit short.
some mixed stuff. So I mean, it's very difficult in the pedal world. Obviously, there are very few things that are black and white or like just it's singularly this. For the most part, that's what we tried to capture on these bigger
All right.
these bigger categories. So
Let's move on to the next.
yes,
Jared?
Well, our top 5 fuzzes out of 42 types, models.
That's
Excuse me.
right.
42 models.
42 different models of fuzz.
The Electro Harmonics Green Russian Muff. The Univox Super Fuzz. Full Tone 69 Fuzz. Pelican Noiseworks Half Horse. Pelican Noiseworks, the Pelotar.
Yeah. Now each of these were mentioned more than or twice or more.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they're the top 5.
Now, to put this in perspective, that's 5 that have only been mentioned more than once. That leaves 37 other pedals that were just named one time.
Right.
Which is awesome. That's fantastic.
There's lots of fuzz pedals out there.
There's a ton of fuzz pedals out there.
And I think fuzz is one of those effects where it's very specific to the player.
Absolutely.
You know, you like the kind of fuzz you like, and you're going to choose the pedal that most suits that. And I don't think fuzz is one of those things where you can make it work. It either does or it doesn't.
Yeah, and then you throw into that like what kind of guitar you're playing through what kind of amp in front of or behind what other kind of pedals. Like options are endless, but I'm glad that there are options. So I was kind of surprised at two things. Actually, this was a very surprising one, like altogether. I was surprised that the green Russian muff was mentioned, and there wasn't a single big muff.
I was just going to say.
Not one.
Right.
That doesn't surprise me, and maybe this comes from the builder standpoint, but my taste, if I'm going to modify something, it's always the green Russian. I think the standard big muff, the original circuit, I think the sound signature that it has is a little bit different. I think the green Russian kind of lends itself more to the modern playing styles.
I prefer the white Russian myself.
I'll call you Lebowski.
Why hasn't anybody made that pedal?
Yeah.
All right,
Let's
somebody
do it.
jump on
Alrighty.
that. Somebody jump on that.
Copyright
Send us
Buzz
one.
effects.
Send us one. Send us one.
The dude.
But the reason I say that though is because, okay, top of your head, the top two most sold pedals maybe ever. Okay, number one.
Definitely the fuzz face.
Yeah, I'd say Fuzz Face and Big Muff.
Okay.
Would be the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, followed by and even outside of the fuzz realm, like Tube Screamer. Okay,
Yeah.
like those three things, ubiquitous. Okay,
That's a big word.
it is a big word. I like big words. So I was surprised, just again sheer numbers, because when you see all lists and talking about all lists, you'd think that would be on there. But you said it. These are builders. These are players.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's the difference. Yeah, because this is not just general public.
yeah. I was surprised to see the Super Fuzz on there twice, because that is a really expensive pedal.
It's spendy, but I think it's one of those that if you've got the money to go out and get one, it's one that people really tend to cherish. I mean, it's got a very specific sound.
Yeah.
It's kind of made of unobtainium. You can't go out and buy the parts to build another one because those transistors have been discontinued for decades now. So
What's the market value for one of those today?
yeah.
At least I'm
Five,
at least
six, 700
$500
and up. I mean, it really. What I've seen is the enclosure makes a lot of the difference. Like the original blue and red plastic tends to be more spendy than the
Well,
later
yeah,
ones.
because the blue's like a rubberized.
Yeah.
It's like a well, it is rubber. It's not rubberized. It just is rubber. So a lot of times that just disintegrates.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, rubber gets old, man.
Now you do.
Just like Tony. All right,
I'm rubber, you're glue.
I was surprised to see that. Look, there are so many great fuzz builders out there. There's so many great fuzz pedals, and we're in a sea of them right now. So I was surprised to see the Full Tone 69 on there more than once.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I'm not surprised to see Pelican Noiseworks on there. Not only more than once, but more than once.
Yeah.
I think they're very well known for those two models, particularly the Pelotar.
Right.
Is one that really just jumps out. If for nothing else, I mean, God bless him for taking the Klon kind of image and making it into something else.
And I hope by now he has the little stuffed animals that I wanted to get.
I need to remind everybody that this isn't just what we've been talking about like last year. So these aren't just the cool, trendy pedals. We've been doing this since 2017.
Yeah.
So, there's been a lot of pedals that have been, bubbling towards the top of what everybody gravitates and rushes out to buy and everything. So it's not the trendo list here. All right, let's move on.
All right, let's go over the top 7 overdrives. There are 61 different models.
61. 61.
61 different models.
61.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Ibanez Tube Screamer.
Yeah, there you go.
Paul Cochran, the Tim Overdrive.
Yep.
Full Tone Full Drive. Full Tone OCD. Electronic Audio Experiments. Longsword. Boss BD-2. Blues Driver. Analog Man. King of Tone.
Now, all of these were mentioned more than 2 times. It's worth mentioning also that the Ibanez got 6 votes in this.
That's pretty.
Yeah. which, it's been around. So
I have two at home. I mean, I love them.
Yeah. What I find interesting about this list, just in the number, there were 61 different models. But if we look at the 390, if you start doing the math, not everyone picked an overdrive.
No, that's true.
Actually,
true.
a lot of people didn't pick an overdrive.
It's very true.
Kind of crazy pants there.
Yeah, some people rely on their amps for that,
That's true.
Given the base of the people that answered this for On The Floor, I'm not at all surprised to see the Tube Screamer on there. I would say, not only because I've listened to most of the episodes, but just because I kind of feel the same way. I think a lot of people look at that pedal not necessarily as something they'd have on their board, but as something that they used as a stepping stone very early in their career designing pedals, because it's got to be the most modified pedal on the market today.
Yeah, I can give you that.
I would say so.
I'm glad to see the Tim was on there.
Twice. Yes. Well, yes.
And did you see they're re-releasing it as a small form factor pedal?
I didn't see that.
I believe
Mini pedal?
it's MXR is the one they've teamed up with Paul Cochran to make it as
Interesting.
as the smaller form factor pedal.
Oh,
Not a mini, like an MXR size.
Well, no, I think it's actually like
mini?
the mini size.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised to see the full drive. Those are, again, that's like...
Yeah,
you know,
ad nauseum there.
Yeah.
Yeah, full
and,
tones
and they're great. So, and they're super affordable, by the way. If you don't know that, you can pick one of those up. It's a dual overdrive and built like a tank, and $80 every day on till Sunday. How's that go? I don't know. All the way up to the Analog Man. So you've got, your $80, a couple of $80 pedals in there, all the way up to like the King of Tone goes for
Lots.
a lot. When you can get them.
If
you can get them.
My name should be coming up this year.
Yeah, see?
Oh,
you're on a year lottery.
Well, I think it's over 2 years now, and I've
That's
been on it since I
bananas.
think December of 18. So I'm hoping that toward the end of this year,
Yeah.
it'll be my turn.
I'll build you one.
jeez.
I can build myself one.
Is anybody surprised that Klon wasn't on here? It doesn't mean it wasn't on the list. It just means, there were 61 models.
Yeah.
So only one person out of 104 guests.
I mean, that doesn't surprise
Chose
me
that.
because that's almost like, it's one of the holy grail pedals.
Yeah.
Well, to find a good one in good shape, we're talking what, $3,000 to $4,000.
Oh yeah, easily. I think cost of entry on the Klon is the biggest thing.
People's
keeping it
rigs
off the
don't
list.
cost near that much.
No.
The average
and then
guy.
when you get it, you're almost afraid to take it out and do anything with it. Right?
I
You've
know.
got a single piece of equipment that costs that much. I mean, it's kind of like having one of the Space Echoes. You're almost afraid to pull it down off the shelf and do anything with it.
I saw one at
Still am
NAMM.
so tempted to buy the pedal form of that.
Yeah.
I got a beat on it. I might get it. All right. Oh, okay. So overdrives. Now, the other thing I think which is worth mentioning is that a lot of times people say, so what? You put out an overdrive pedal. Like the world needs another overdrive pedal, man. Clearly we do.
Right?
Yep.
There's no shortage of what you can still do with that. I mean,
I
this
have-
is testament to
I have
that.
2 different ones on my board, I believe. Yeah.
Most people do.
I think it's because there are, it runs the spectrum of, from mild overdrive to real heavy stuff to, trying to replicate
Sound color.
specific amplifiers and
Form
things like
factor.
that. So
Yep.
I think that's. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. That there's-
Coolness.
Yeah,
That's not a real thing, but
coolness is.
and then the builder comes into play. It's like I really like this builder. I want to have something from this builder. So
yeah.
So hey, why I'm bringing that up is that the overdrive is, John. Maybe is it fair to say that's the easiest way to get into building a pedal, or would you say a fuzz is?
I would say fuzz or boost is probably going to be the first circuit you would build, but if you're kind of a full-scale manufacturer and you don't have an overdrive, there's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that you just kind of have to have in your lineup.
It's like for anybody maybe wants to do a DIY, overdrive is going to be maybe one of the top 2 choices.
Right,
Fair
right.
to say. Let's just for argument's sake go with me on that.
I agree with everything you say.
Perfect. You're getting the hang of this. Now, if I can convince
You will
Tony
do
and Jared
so
to
well. All you have to do is agree with everything Todd says.
Stop it. Now, what I'm saying is that it's one of those things where you could be discouraged by saying, like, I want to do this, but, like, who cares? There's hundreds of overdrives out there. Why is mine going to make a difference? It very well damn could. And
Yeah.
it could end up on this list. So do it.
Well, I think the part of it too is each of these pedals will react differently with different rigs. So what doesn't work as well on someone's rig might be the perfect thing for somebody else's.
Yeah.
So try them all out.
Do them.
Do it.
All right, Jared.
Now it's time to go over the top 8 reverbs.
Verbs.
There's 24 different models. Number 1, and this is not in any numerical order, but I'm just going down the list.
Well, it kind of is, but
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It is, but there's a lot
these
of
have
the
all
same
been
number.
mentioned more than twice.
So the top 8 reverbs, 24 different models: Strymon Blue Sky, Caroline Guitar Company Meteor, Eventide H9, Adventure Audio, What a Verb, Earthquaker Devices, Ghost Echo, Hardwire RV7, Wampler Fox Spring.
I say you just leave that one.
Fox Spring.
Faux spring.
Faux Spring?
Yeah.
Faux.
Why is it FOE?
It's
It's not. It's French.
FAUX. Are you seeing FOE here?
No, I meant that. Well, that's how you say it.
Yes.
Yes. Faux is French for false.
Does he live in New Orleans?
What?
Brian Wampler, yes. He lives in South Bend, New Orleans.
That's
Yes.
why. That's why it's spelled like that. Okay.
On a swamp in New Orleans.
Anyways. Oh, dear.
Okay. My bad.
It's okay. Okay. For me, right out the gate, seeing the hardwire on here is very interesting. Those are pedals that you can get at like a used boutique or Craigslist for almost nothing.
Right.
And that's not the only hardwire that was mentioned on here. So your builders have chosen several hardwire pedals. Just saying.
There's something to be said for just getting the pedal right.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to cost a lot of money. If
It's
it
not
does-
super sexy. It's not super boutique-y looky. It's very sort of old manufacturing looking, 80s, 90s kind of thing. But
Now, on the other end of that spectrum, there's a handful on this reverb list that are pretty spendy.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yup.
I mean, there are no surprises to see the Blue Sky on there, and no surprises really to see it up at the top. And
Yeah.
the H9 is another one. I kind of see the H9 as more of like the ambient guitarist's choice. I think
Yeah.
it kind of does that. It fits that a little bit better than
I'm always weirded out when I see two of them on a board.
Yeah.
which I've seen many times.
Well, yeah, but see, the H9 is much. I mean, it goes way beyond just a reverb pedal.
yeah,
I mean,
it does a
is-
lot.
It's a true multi-effect
Yeah.
pedal.
It is, but I guess.
But
first
in
and
this
foremost,
case-
it's that. So,
But that being said, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can do so many things with it.
Yeah.
That's why you see it appear more than once on a board.
I also want to call out here. This is something I've found was pretty cool on it. So you've got Strymon, you've got Eventide. Okay, those are monster reverb pedals. And then you know what you also have on here? You got our friends from Adventure Audio, picked at basically the same amount of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From all these builders. And I think that says a lot. It doesn't have to be the biggest, baddest, most expensive thing. And obviously quality's there because, these aren't making the list if they're not quality pedals.
Well, yeah, and you got the Boss RV5 on there too. I mean,
Right.
That's a pretty pedestrian pedal, but it's on there. It's
Yep.
not as much as these others. So it's kind of cool. I think this category in particular is really interesting to me, at least, because there's such a wide variety of price points and availabilities,
Right.
and the whole ball of wax.
It's also interesting to mention that a lot of specifically like on the reverb thing. I don't know what that.
Tell us about it.
I kind of felt like the what's her bucket in Schitt's Creek a little bit like that. Specifically, I think the reverbs are.
Is that a good show?
It's so
Oh,
good.
it's a great show.
I love
Schitt's
it.
Creek.
Oh boy.
All right, I'll go watch it.
Yeah.
On this week's Schitt's Creek.
Yes. So a lot of these people had multiple reverbs. Reverb is one that people many times chose more than one.
Yeah, that's true.
Even more than people chose double overdrives, which is to me a little weird because I always think of like stacking overdrives. Stacking reverbs and stacking delays doesn't click with my kind of playing, so I don't think of it like that. But I just, interesting note. Do with it what you will. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jared?
Well, let's go over the compressors. The top 4 compressor 10 models. The Diamond CPR1, the Keeley Compressor Plus, MXR, Dynacomp, Origin Effects, Cali 76.
Yes. I have an observation on this category. My observation is that people probably still fully don't comprehend compression.
Nobody
Yeah, I
knows
know.
how to use a
And
compressor.
therefore, they're like, I'm going to go with what everybody else has been using.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know how true that is, but to me, that's what makes sense.
If you guys want to go way, way back, we did do a compression.
Oh, yeah. Don't do that, though. Don't go wait. Don't. Those episodes.
I love them. I
so,
love them.
Actually-
so rough.
It's like they're air cooled,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our buddy did a great job going
Yes.
over the compression.
Yes. Chris Graham.
Yep.
So I think it's also interesting to see here, the Keeley compressor, right? He sold, I think he had an earmark, 700,000.
Yeah.
700,000.
That's a mortgage payment or two there.
Yeah. A couple times over. And he's not Boss, and he's not, MXR and some of these other monster companies. But that was only chosen twice.
Yeah. And
so,
and going to the MXR Dynacomp, I mean, the Dynacomp has been around forever.
yeah.
I mean, the Dynacomp came out the same time as the Distortion Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are old pedals from late 70s into the 80s.
And there's a definite lineage there between that Dynacomp and the Ross version of the same circuit, and then that Compressor Plus. I mean, they're very similar. And I think even Keeley would be quick to say that it's, there's a very heavy basis there.
Mm-hmm. The Ross was on there, just didn't make the more than once list.
I think compression, you kind of said it. It's one of those effects. First of all, it's very specific to a certain sound. And if you don't want that sound, you're probably not going to have a compressor on your board.
Well, clearly, because there were only 10 different different models chosen, and not many more than we're seeing on this list right now out of, as many pedals as we mentioned. So that isn't on everybody's must have.
No, you get much grit on your board, and it's really not even worth having a compressor on there. I'm ducking for people throwing things at this point, but it's really it's an effect designed for a more clean tone, and if you don't want a clean tone, then why would you have a compressor?
Yeah.
Most people use, rack mount compressors in a live, in a touring situation.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody like Drew would have a lot more to say about that. I don't.
Well, I think when I did my 4 on the floor, one of the pedals that I had on there was the Jangle Box.
Yeah.
And because that is really married to the whole...
Who makes that one?
Jangle Box.
It's just called Jangle Box?
Jangle Box. Jangle Box.
Yeah.
But anyhow, aside from the Jangle Box being called the Jangle Box, that one is taken from the Rickenbacker Roger McGuinn compression that was on board on his guitar. So it's essentially the same circuit that they put into pedal form. So anybody that uses a lot of
the Birds
12-string Rickenbacker Bird sound, that is that super compressed. And with Rickenbackers, especially from mid to late 60s Rickenbackers that had lower output pickups, you need that compression to get that sound.
Interesting.
In the studio, they would obviously use compression on the board, but live, Roger McGuinn actually had that built into his guitar, so he had a separate
Oh, wow,
circuit
that's
in it.
wild.
Yeah, so it was like that sound.
That's why Tony's on this show. Doggone it, I love that man.
Jangle Box.
All right, let's move on from the compressor stuff.
Well, let's talk about the top 7 modulation, and that includes the phaser, vibrato, flanger, tremolo, pitch, shifter, and tape, and combo.
Yeah, so those are types of pedals. The reason that I grouped these all into one was because there were so many singular and low number mentions, but there were loads and loads. And what I didn't do, I'm so sorry, I didn't calculate how many types, how many models there actually were altogether. But there's a lot.
How many models were there if you take them all together?
Just these ones?
Yeah, like the phaser vibrato. If you sum them
Well, that's
all.
what I was just saying. I didn't
Less
do that.
than 1 million.
I didn't do that. But a substantial number.
You're right, Tony.
Yes, it is less than 1 million.
You are right. It is less than 1 million.
Yes.
Well, let's continue on with the reading down.
Let's
the
do it.
list.
Do it.
Strymon Flint.
Yep.
Strymon El Capistan Tape Echo.
Yep.
Electro Harmonics Pitchfork. MXR Phase 90. Mutron or Mutron Phase 2. I love that one. Full Tone Supa Trem. Strymon Deco.
I love that Strymon Deco.
I'll just take any of these.
so good.
Any of these.
It is
so
good.
good.
I mean, I
They
can't
are.
say
Yeah.
anything bad about anything on that list.
They're awesome.
No,
Yeah.
and here's the crazy thing. These were only the Flint, the El Capistan, and the Pitchfork were mentioned 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so that number that I don't have, sorry everybody, but that was a big number. There's a lot of different models.
It's a lot of Strymon on there.
It was less than 1 million.
It was less than 1 million. I was surprised to see the Pitchfork on there 3 times. We would count that as a modulation. Yes? It's a question mark.
I mean, it does modulate.
Yeah.
It's not what we would classically think of as modulation, but to your point, I'm like, you are.
By the time you create categories for everything, you'd
Right.
have like 2 in each one. So
Right.
Yeah.
So I put that in there.
I think having the Phase 90 on the MXR Phase 90, I mean, again, these are classic pedals.
But it was
Right.
only mentioned twice.
Yeah.
So, again, variety is the spice of life, baby.
Lots of modulation
Something like
going
that.
on out there.
There's a ton of it.
I would say that modulation is one of those things where you kind of like the particular modulation you like, and that's probably the one you're going to have. So if you like a phaser,
That's the exact same thing as saying it is what it is.
well, and it is. I mean, you're not if you like phaser, you're not going to have a flanger on your board. I mean, they're just so
Well,
dramatically different effects.
I do. I do.
Well, on your 4 on the floor, you've got a phaser and
Southampton utility knife. I got the chorus, the phaser, the flanger, and the
I
trim
will agree
all
with
in one
everything
pedal.
you say.
I'm just saying.
He calls it a flanger, too.
I don't. Do the English call that a flanger?
Flanger.
I don't know. We should ask.
I think they call it chips.
Should ask Ant. Should ask Hello Sailor Xander.
Crisps.
I was surprised to not see some of the more maybe popular boutique versions of these things. These are all pretty standard issue as far as modulation goes.
Yeah.
With as much focus that's been put on really heavy modulation in the last maybe even 2 years, I was surprised. That's all. So there.
Are you saying you were surprised?
Yes. Anything else, John?
No.
Nothing
Okay.
more to add.
Tony?
I'm done.
Jared?
That's one of my favorite effects is modulation.
You like the modulation.
I do.
He likes the Mutrons, especially.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit well with me so much. I little tiny doses, little sprinkles.
If the biphase wasn't so darn expensive, I don't
You'll
know.
end up with that sooner or later.
I have a biphase. I have the
well,
original.
I mean like 3 more. All right, let's go to the next one.
Well, let's talk about top distortion, and hang on tight, folks. This is a long list.
Yes. There-
Proco Rat.
That's it.
That's all.
That's that was the only one that was mentioned more than once. There were 12 models.
Yep.
So
12 different models.
yeah. So there you go.
And in that under the rat category, there were probably 12 different versions of the rat.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is the year of the rat
Oh,
in
my.
China.
It is.
Happy New Year.
I believe that all of those were the original form box, not
Right.
the angled model. You know, the late ones and all the
newer
different
ones.
versions.
Okay.
The straight Proco rat.
Okay, Proco rat.
What I think is interesting with this list, usually when you say, if I said guitar, you know, that game where you say it's word association,
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
say distortion.
No, I would say amp.
Okay, but you
Go
would
ahead,
say
try me again.
You would say distortion.
I would
guitar.
say repair.
Plus.
I'm
Okay.
surprised that the
My-
DS1 was not on here.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
that's a
biggest
big
surprise.
one.
I mean, I'm not surprised to see the rat there at all, but
No.
the DS1 is another one of those real classic circuits that has a lot of mods. So builders I would think would.
The thing that I take from this, and where I was trying to go with Tony here, is that wasn't a choice a lot of people were making. It's like distortion doesn't seem to have as many.
Hello.
I'm a ghost in the room. The mic just spun on me.
Articulating. art.
Yes. People are looking, it seems, for pedals that will allow them to get what they want out of it rather than saying button on equals distortion only.
Yeah. Well,
You know what I
I
mean?
think distortion. I mean, I would put a tube screamer under the distortion category rather than an overdrive. I mean, there's overdrive, distortion, and boost, kind of all in the same category.
But they're not.
I mean, I would almost go overdrive, distortion, and fuzz.
Yeah.
There's really fine lines there, particularly between like a gritty overdrive and distortion.
Yeah.
And then a really hairy distortion and fuzz. Like, where do you draw that line?
or an overdrive with a lot of dB on it.
Right? Right?
But that's why we have overdrive, distortion, and boost in 3 different categories. So,
I don't like it.
anyways,
I want to just.
speaking of that, let's go to the boost.
I cannot wait. Boost pedal. Thank you, Tony Baloney. Okay, top boost. There are 12 models. And another long list, ladies and gentlemen. The Exotic EP Boost. The Earthquaker Devices Speaker Cranker.
That's it. Everything else was only mentioned once.
That's right.
So those were the 2 that were selected more than one time.
Yep.
Yeah, Baloney likes the EP Boost.
That EP boost is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to beat.
It really is.
I mean,
Because it's not just a dB. We've talked about this several times on the show. It's like it just has it's got pixie dust in it.
It has
That's
a
the
certain
only-
je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to put into words what it actually does because you turn it on and you're like, this sounds
the sound.
so better.
That's modeled after the boost you get from an Echoplex, right?
Yeah, the preamp stage.
Yeah.
of
For
an
those
Echoplex.
who didn't know that,
Yeah.
wonder where the EP is. So, would you safely say that if you had an original Echoplex machine, that would be the only thing better than the actual?
I don't think so because it's modeled, but it's also
It's a little tiny pedal.
It's influenced from that, but it's not just a 1-to-1. They've
Yeah, it's
color
not
in it.
specifically based on the circuitry.
It does something else to your sound. It's very
So it was inspired by.
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
that's a good way to put
yes.
it.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, anything to say about those ones, guys?
I like me some boost.
Yeah. I
I'm
do too.
surprised there weren't more boosts on there because boost is one of those things that like people seem to have a lot of.
I think boost is kind of, I hate to say it, it's kind of like compression. You've got a clean sound, you want boost. If you've got a dirtier sound, you want drive or distortion or fuzz. I think everybody's got a boost, but it's not necessarily their desert
must
island
have.
pedal. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring this, we're rounding third here, everybody. We're going to hit our top 2 categories. Number 1 on the top 2 categories. Jared?
All right, top 10 brands.
So of all, Tony, how many were there?
Lots.
Of all the
There were 150.
150 brands, these were the top 10 that were mentioned more than
7 times.
More than 7 times. I know that's kind of a odd number, but then everything else just turned into ones.
How about more than 13 times?
Well, no, because it's more than
No,
7.
because you got to go to the next page.
Yes.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's true. Top 10 brands. Boss. 27. Ibanez. 27. Electro Harmonics. 20. Strymon. 14. Earthquaker Devices. 13. TC Electronics. 11. Fulltone. 10. Caroline Guitar Company. 9. MXR. 9. Electronic Audio Experiments.
Drink.
7.
Well, there you go. I think a couple things to keep in mind here. Right out of the gate, we're like, there's Boss, there's Ibanez, there's Electro Harmonics, and except for little MXR down there, everything else is actually a boutique pedal.
Yeah.
Right.
That's freaking awesome.
It actually is.
Most people, I don't know if, well, actually, when we were talking to Strymon, they mentioned this. They said, everybody thinks we're this giant company.
They're not.
But that's because of the product that they make. It looks like nothing else out there when you consider, a boutique pedal. But they're like, we're just like a couple of guys here. We're making them. That's it.
Earthquaker's growing pretty big.
Earthquakers.
They're pretty big.
Huge now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're right up the road.
And then you got Caroline Guitar Company.
Yeah.
Philippe doing his thing out there. And then Electronic Audio Experiments.
It's just John.
Just John.
Yep.
Drink.
No, we didn't say John Schneider.
Drink.
There you
No,
go. All right. And our last category, ladies and gentlemen,
Top 4 pedals. 319.
models.
That's right.
Now, these were all the pedals that were mentioned more than 4 times or more. Okay.
4 times or more. The Ibanez Tube Screamer. Caroline Guitar Company. Kilobyte. However you want to say it, ladies and gentlemen. Proco Rat. Electro Harmonics. Green Russian Muff.
And we want to give someone on here a great big
Huzzah!
We got Philippe Herndon bringing up Caroline Guitar Company, the Kilobyte, with 5 mentions, knocking out Proco and Electro Harmonics. Wrap your head around that.
Yeah.
319 models. Well done, Philippe. And well done, everybody else out there, for choosing things that aren't just, the things that everybody else is choosing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Excellent.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. We need to say a great big thank you to Reo Carnahan again for providing the list for that.
And we're going to build upon this list as we progress through.
I've already done it since he's given it to me. I've put in everything up to date because I got that about a month ago.
Nice.
So I'm putting them in, and we're going to build that list, and we'll revisit it in a couple of years. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why I put the emphasis on there. But
Emphasis.
yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up, gentlemen. Jared.
Oh, man, it is time for the game show of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Would you rather? This week's Would You Rather is from our buddy, Co Schneider.
Yes.
And he
Flippin' Flippers podcast.
That's right.
Former guest.
Flippity
All
flip.
around good guy.
He's like, hey, man, for Would You Rather? You have to go head-to-head in a Scott Pilgrim-style guitar battle against one of your co-hosts.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a movie.
Okay. And you have to use the other co-host's rig. Who do you battle? And then by default, whose rig do you use? For the guest, they can pick one of the hosts to battle and pick one of the other's rigs. And that would be our buddy John.
Okay.
So the rest of us, we just got to pick between each other?
I guess.
Did that? I don't,
To be honest, I don't even understand it. That's the truth. I can't get away with
so
not knowing.
we have to do a guitar battle. So to sum that up, we are going to choose one of each other's rigs to battle one of each other. It'll be crystal clear as an unmuddied lake, Fred, as clear as an azure sky of deepest summer.
I love summer.
A little Clockwork Orange for you.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to choose a person to battle, and we're
Yes.
going to choose a rig to battle them with.
Right.
Tony Baloney, go.
I'm going to battle Todd using Jared's rigs.
Ooh, wise choice.
I want many, many Marshalls.
There
So
you
it's
go.
Probably a Marshall and Les Paul.
No, it's Marshall,
Marshall.
and Les Paul.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one rig.
Pre-rolls.
You just
Okay, can I use more than one Marshall?
no.
Marshall JCM 800.
Okay, I'll use the 800. Although
Okay.
I do like
Yeah.
the 45.
All right.
JCM 45.
All right. So the 45 and his new gold top. You're going to battle
Yep.
me with that.
Yeah, with an 812.
Okay. John.
I don't want Tony to feel all out and alone in the world. That was my choice as well. Battle Todd with Jared's rig.
Everyone wants to battle Todd.
It's
Except
not
Todd.
a hard fight. I don't know.
Todd's going to battle himself.
Yeah.
with Jared's
I
rig.
do that daily. Yeah. I know. Jared, what are you doing?
I'll make it fair. I'll battle Todd with Todd's rig.
Ooh.
Oh.
They're my pickups anyways.
Which amp, though? Which amp?
Whichever amp that, whichever
doesn't
one, it
matter.
doesn't matter.
The Supro
Use the Supro.
or the VTX, the PV VTX.
Let's go old
'Cause
school.
I've got
I'll do
so many
PV.
amps.
I'll do PV, man.
Oh.
Man.
I'll use the PV.
All right.
I think he's thrown the gauntlet down.
I'm going to accept that gauntlet, and I'm going to battle John with Jared's VTX.
It
with
won't
mine,
be much of
yeah.
a battle.
Well, that was an interesting Would You Rather. Thank you, Co Schneider, for dropping that one on us. I suspect that, I don't know, I think we got it right. I'm pretty sure we figured out how to do that. That was a complicated one.
Let's battle Coach
He
Schneider.
said it really
Not gonna
late at
lie, we
night,
had to talk about it.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for doing that. If you got a Would You Rather you want to send, we would love to hear it and probably read it just like we did and answer it too. So please send those to our email, todd@theguitarknobs.com, or DM at guitarknobs on Instagram.
Beautiful.
Yep.
I love it.
Tony Baloney,
Yes.
we got some people to thank.
Yes, we do. I'm really excited this week because we have a new category of executive producer called the Grand Poobah level.
All right. So what does that mean, buddy?
That means that they are. You
They're-
take an
they're the-
executive producer,
Right.
It's at the
and
next
you,
tier
and you
up.
kick it up a notch.
Right.
the next
They're
tier
very
up.
generous.
You kick it up
You
a
can
notch.
find
What are
out
those-
more about it on the old website.
Go to the website.
Patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs.
I believe it's at patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs.
There you go.
right.
That's where you can see that. So, if you go there, you go to Patreon, and you'll see the various levels in which you can participate. And there are various rewards that you receive
Yes.
for being a patron
Buttons,
of this very
t-shirts,
podcast.
Barefoot buttons, stickers, pins, kebabs, the whole nine yards.
Giveaways. Don't
Lots
forget
of
the giveaways.
We just gave away 2 pedals.
Two.
Like, just this last week.
1, 2, count them. But the executive producer level, and now the Grand Poobah level,
Yes, both of them.
what happens, Jared?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
You get your name right on the thing. So I'm going to start with our Grand Poobah level. Many of these names I've read many times before. I want to personally thank you. Todd does. Jared does.
Absolutely.
Even John does. He's a nice guy. You should get to know him.
We like John.
We do. Aw. He's blushing. So at this point, I would like to thank our executive producers by reading their name aloud. Specifically, I want to start with our Grand Poobah level.
Yeah.
Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, David Kaminga, Cody Lane, Cody Foster, Sean S. Tommy Manasco, and now our executive producers. Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Chris Carney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Ken Sayers, Brian Robinson, Michael Senchuk, Stefan Lamb, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lathrop, John Anglin, Tyler Bray, Brad Partridge, Ty Garman, Chris Heidel. This next one I'm not familiar with. John Esterly. Is he here? Tim Novak, Doug Gann, Justin Jones, Steve Keys, and our newest executive producer.
That's right.
Mr. Brett Alexander.
Hey, welcome aboard.
Welcome, Brett.
Thank you, each and every one of you. And if you're a patron on Patreon, we thank you as well.
At every level. Much obliged.
I got to hang out with David Kaminga and NAMM. It was fun.
Well, that's
Yeah,
cool.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
Great dude.
It's fun when we get to meet these people, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
I got to hang out with John Esterly.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Me too.
Tony Baloney,
Yes.
where can people find you?
Go to pickguardian.com. You can see some of the projects that I do. If there's something there that you like, that you see, shoot me an email.
Yeah.
I will take personal care of you.
And check you out on Instagram where?
That's Pick Guardian and the number 1. You can see some of the projects we've been talking about.
Yep, right on. Jared?
Well, if you need some pickups or pickup repair or anything pickups, give me a call or give me an email or whatever. BrandonWoundPickups.com is the website. And I'd love to talk to you about any problems you have or anything you want to upgrade. So,
Yeah.
Get a hold of me.
Specifically pickup problems, people.
Yeah, no,
Pick up
no
stuff.
cash flow problems.
right. Can't help you there.
John?
You can find me at www.rarebuzzer.com, at rarebuzzer on all the social medias. And by the time this drops, you should be reading about the collaboration pedal, the Niagara, with Sound Slice Effects up in Canada.
That's
Nice.
cool. Excellent. You can send me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. You can DM me on Instagram at guitarknobs. We would love to hear from you. We want to give our pal John Esterly a big thanks for joining us on this episode. I thought specifically he would really enjoy this one, and I hope you have too. This was a lot of fun for us. Thank you for listening. Have a great guitar week and subscribe!
Yay!
I'm going to cut your blah, 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 blahs out.
You're all wrong.
finale
You're
at
all
the end.
wrong.
Thank you, Jared.
You're all wrong. Meteore.
Can I just say meteor?
Flanger.
I'm not going to be a bastard. Flanger?
Recording.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, border to border, and coast to coast, and all the ships at sea.
Flanger.
Jared, are you going to be able to read all this stuff? I'm not going to be mean.
What's in that cup?
What he's having.
Yeah.
I don't like you.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at guitarknobs. Catch you next time.